Yo, what is up, everybody?
What's going on and on to the break of dawn?
It's a new episode of the Up to It podcast. You see, he out here coughing. You
I know,
good?
man. I just had one of the little protein shake, so
Okay.
it's in the throat a little bit. Sorry about that, y'all.
He had the muscle milk. You know what I'm saying? He out here drinking the muscle milk.
Trying to get some muscles.
It's working though. It's working. You know what I mean?
Little something, but yeah.
Hey,
Yo, so yeah, welcome, y'all. All right, so we want to waste everybody's time, you know what I'm saying?
exactly. We can talk about muscles all day, but that's not what we're talking about today.
No.
In today's podcast, we're talking about you ain't gotta be gangster.
Oh, you ain't gotta be gangster. Okay, you want to rap about that a little bit?
Well, we can rap about it after we roll this intro. That cool?
Yeah, no, we got definitely roll the intro.
Let's
Let's
do
do it. Hey.
Yes, sir. Oh, you just can't help but smile
You know what
after
I
you
mean?
watch that, something like that.
Exactly. So y'all, those of y'all listening, y'all gotta go check the video side of things so you can see like the little intro when you get a moment.
Yeah, it's on the YouTube. You know what it is at the Up to It podcast. You know where to find us.
Yes, indeed. And you ain't gotta be gangster to do it.
You ain't gotta be gangster. And you know, a lot of people are probably listening to this pod right now. And they're like, "Why am I like? I love Jamal and Z, but why are we talking about gangster? Like, why are we talking about that?" And I think we should foreshadow a little bit and talk about why we're talking about how it's okay not to be gangster. And the reason why this topic came up for us was just because listening throughout the summer, throughout the NBA Finals, about the John Morant situation with for parents or guardians or people that may not know. Let give you a little bit more backstory about the John Morant situation.
Well, who is John Morant? You know,
Oh,
some people
definitely.
they may not be like NBA folks like us.
That's so true. So John Morant is a professional NBA player, right? Playing for the Memphis Grizzlies, a young talent. This is his second or third year. This year would be his third year coming into the league, and he's somebody that's ultra talented. Is the franchise player for the organization.
Yep.
Very good, very skilled player, right? And what had happened was, and if you keep up with NBA, if you don't, this is what happened was in the season, he was caught on Instagram Live holding a gun, right? And he's with his friends and he's holding guns and he's kind of flashing it, showing it off a little bit. And the NBA was like, yo, man, that ain't cool. So he got a little trouble for that. He got fined and a couple game suspension. Yep. And Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, was very sad and disheartened about it, right? So him and John Morant had a one-on-one conversation and just letting John know, like, hey, you have a big future ahead of you. Like, you don't want to be caught up in this kind of situation, living this kind of lifestyle. Like, you don't have to live that lifestyle anymore. Yep. And once he had that conversation with John, everybody, all the audience thought that it was good. All right, cool. He's a young player too. He's like 21, 20, 22 actually. And he's like, you know, he made a mistake. You know, everybody's like, all right, cool. Give him some grace. He made a mistake. He learned from it. He got a game suspension. So we're good. So we thought, right? His team ends up not going far in the NBA playoffs. So he's ended up having, a summer break, a summer vacation, right? Yep. And what ended up happening was he was in a car with a homie and again on Instagram Live flashing a gun. And this time the gun, he wasn't flashing it like showing it off like he was in his first time. It was more quickly, but then the homie who was filming this on Instagram Live kind of moved the camera real quickly out the way so he'd hope he didn't get it. But unfortunately, it's 2023 and people got eyes and people can see a little bit more. You can slow it down. Yep. And he got caught again. And this was during the NBA playoffs where this video got released. And, Adam Silver made an announcement. He's like, listen, everybody saw the John Morant situation. I don't want to make any comments on it. I want everybody to enjoy the NBA Finals right now. But just know we're dealing with this situation hands on. And it ended up coming out a month ago in June after the NBA Finals that John Morant will be suspended 25 games in the NBA season of the upcoming season. But this still left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, right? Because this
Yep.
is a prominent player. This is a player that a lot of young folks look up to. This is a player that has Nike endorsements, that has a Powerade endorsement, that is, so he has a lot of influence, so to say. So everybody's a little upset. Michael Wilbon, Stephen A, Shaq had their comments, and Charles Barkley, but
Barkley.
we wanted
Yep.
to we wanted to comment on it as
Well,
well a little bit more.
yeah. But the thing that you didn't share,
Ooh,
why what makes it so additionally unique, is that John Morant, that's not the way that he even came up. He's not even, part of that lifestyle um when he was coming up, as far as, being maybe gangster or really gun toting type of cat, and just running the streets like that, because he was focused on his game,
right.
his basketball, from when he was little ja, you know what I mean? So uh it was just out of character, it seemed, for him to be wanting to portray that type of image, intentionally or unintentionally. And
Mhm.
so that's what kind of got people like kind of up in arms. It reminds me of I'm probably gonna date myself here a little bit. It's all good. Is on 8 Mile, when
Mm,
Eminem was going after, oh damn, I forget the character's name, but and the guy was one of the battle rappers that Eminem was going up against. Eminem ends up calling him out, saying like, you go to a private school, you
mhm,
saw you delivering food, and because the battle rapper he was going against, Eminem, was trying to come off all hard in his bars and whatnot, but
mhm.
that wasn't who he was at all. And so it kind of reminds me a little bit of that, thinking about Ja, and that's what some people were saying also, right? So the reason, like Z was saying, is you ain't gotta be gangsta to really, walk these streets and have some credibility, and have the I guess just strength that you need to be successful, or to not even be successful, I guess successful in your own right or way.
Right.
So anyway, so that was that's kind of the other little curveball in this, is like, and it still wouldn't be right even if he, really did run the streets like that growing up. um there's just certain um there's just certain things that you can't do, and you shouldn't do, regardless of your title. But when you do have one, and you join an organization or a group or a business, there's just certain ways that you got to move, and you can't move the same way like you used to. And so
Right.
that's what, like, Charles Barkley, Shaq, Stephen A. Smith, and all of them were kind of like, kind of addressing and saying, a little bit. But we could talk more about that. But yeah, so that was the other little angle to it.
No, I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's so true. And I think the reason why we wanted to bring this on our podcast, yes, John Morant is the, like, we're not gonna strictly talk about John Morant in this
No.
situation. We want to kind of get it over with, because he got suspended, he's learning his punishment, we hope, but we want to apply this to everyday life, right? For youth that may be listening, to parents that may be struggling with the youth, right? And for me, growing up, black and Mexican, right? Um,
Yes, sir.
in South Tucson, right? There's a certain type of image that people try to uphold, right? As a youth, right? We're trying to figure out our identity. We're trying to figure out where we fit, where we land, and especially when you're biracial, it's kind of difficult to figure out where you stand, right? And when we talk about that, there were certain people that I saw in my class that would, they're really smart. They have parents that actually, like, that really care about them. They come in from a two-parent household or a one-parent household that does their best, and they're doing all these great things. But then you see them acting a fool in class, or you see them hanging out with the wrong, the wrong crowd, or a crowd that's not doing the most healthy thing, right? Whether it's gang banging, whether it's selling
Slanging.
drugs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We see these people do these things, and the reason why I really wanted to talk about this on this topic, because it was something that I struggled with a little bit when I was growing up, but it wasn't so much to the point where I was like, yeah, you know what, let me just dive into this. It was more of the point where we had conversations about this
Mhm.
topic, right? And how do you fit in, and how are you what group do you want to hang out with, what do you want to be associated with? And
Yeah.
one of the things that Ja had and that we have is that we have a family that cared for us, right? We had a parent or a one parent or two parents. Me, I had two parents that cared about me and that talked to me about these certain things and these certain stereotypes. And they worked their butt off so we didn't have to do those kind of things, right? Where you had a great job, you still have a great job, mom had a great job. So we I didn't have to go through that phase of trying to, let me try selling drugs. Let me try hanging out with these gang members and build camaraderie. It was more like, I know that kind of lifestyle isn't going to get me further in
Right,
life, right?
right, right.
So for you, Pop, I think my question was, how did you navigate that? I mean, because your work, I mean, you probably set you up really well, and you're studying in college and understanding, the development of humans in youth. But how tough and how important was it for you to have that conversation with me? And how could parents lean into that conversation with their youth that may be of color, or even the white kids? We're seeing the white kids
Yeah, I
getting
know, right, right.
kind of these things. So how would you approach that situation, help the youth out and help the parents?
Yeah, I think for me, what it was is again, my dad, Pop J,
Mhm.
uh, just letting me know um, that there's choices in life, and he worked hard to give me and my brother what he could, which happened to be a lot for us. But even if it's a family that is doing their best, like you said, and not necessarily giving everything that they can, but are still trying to put food on the table and a roof over people's houses, it's important for young people to understand that they're jeopardizing that effort and kind of throwing it in the face of their parents when they don't try as hard to maintain that family name, that respect, that follow through on trying to be the best that they can be.
Mhm.
And it's choices that young people are making, and I think it's just about sitting down and sharing with that young person like I did with you, and just talks that we used to have in the truck when taking from to school, from school, and just saying like, hey, that there's choices and ways that you can go, and you need to understand that if you go this way, here's what could happen,
Mhm.
right? And having that conversation, I believe, um, directly, honestly, and openly. Um, and notice I said conversation, not necessarily a lecture, but a lot of times we would just talk about, scenes that we saw on TV or things that we heard in music, right? That may have can play a part in why some people want to go that direction.
Right.
But you're right. I think I have a little bit more experience from the standpoint of literally seeing young people who ended up in juvie, and I had to work with them. Knew a couple of cats that definitely went to prison, and had conversations with them. So I did have real stories other than just the movies and the music. Um, and one of the things that was interesting is in talking with a lot of these young people, those that were in juvie and those that um, went to prison, is that they felt that that was the best thing to do. And what's interesting to me is when you take on a lifestyle of the streets, um, that's not easy.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times it was interesting when I would talk to these young people and they'd be like, "Man, school is hard. School is hard." Well, the streets ain't no easier.
Right.
Word is bond. It is an emotional, uh, physical toll on yourself. Why having to watch your back 24/7? I've worked with gangs over
Mhm.
the years, and just talking with those cats, man, and them learning and seeing, or teaching me, I should say, excuse me,
Right.
just about how they have to move all the time
Mhm.
is scary, because you're having to watch your back all the time and not knowing who to trust. And if you walk into a particular situation or a set, um, not knowing who's gunning for you.
Right.
How is that easier
Mm.
than, especially when you're young, just going to school?
Right.
And so I think that's what I would tell people is, have and this is one of the things that we always say. And I think that's one of the things people will pick up, hope through this podcast is start early, talking often, and don't be scared about talking about certain topics. I know young people are going to make uh, their decisions and choices, and like Z said, it's so true, right? They're trying to find their identity right now, and where do I fit in? Um, but I think talking with them early and often is important. And society doesn't help us,
Right.
and so tell me, Z, why do you think some of the cats that you knew of
Yeah.
maybe moved in that direction? What I mean, as far as trying to be gangster, and when you
Yeah.
talk to some of them, what were they saying?
And I think the easiest answer is that they were getting money. You know what I mean? They were making a lot of money, and
That's what
a
I hear.
lot of a lot of money in middle school and high school is like $100 a week. That's $400 a month. And when you don't have no bills to pay, when you ain't got things to worry about like that, you kind of you floss out a little bit, right? You get the newest J's, you get the newest polos. That was a big in middle school for me, was seeing everybody rock the polos, and then you move on to high school, you see everybody with the Supreme, with the off white, with the newest iPhone, the fattest
Hmm,
whips, all these
hmm.
things, right? And that was so appealing because what comes with that is attention, right?
Right, right,
And
right.
what attention do young men want? Most of them is a woman, right? A female, somebody that will look at them and be like, "Oh, I like them. They're buying me roses, buying me all these things, and they're doing this and that, and it's appealing for them." Right. And
Right,
it gives them notoriety, it gives them status. And that's what a lot of people were chasing after, whether they admit it or not. Right. We
right.
know the underlying, like, oh, you like the attention you're getting, and
Hmm.
the attention is great, but it only gets you so far, right?
Right.
Because then when you, like you're mentioning, right, I told the youth this when we're talking in public and we're doing our public speaking, is I know people that are in this kind of lifestyle, and they go out one or two ways, right? Either dead or in prison.
Yeah.
And when you're rich and you're making all that money, you can't enjoy it when you're dead. You
Right.
can't enjoy it when you're in prison. Like there's no, and then people are like, "Well, I'm gonna make my money and get out." Like there's
Hmm.
no making money and getting out that easy. A lot, and unfortunately, we hear stories of people that want to change their life for the better when they're 22, 23, 24, 25, but they're in so deep that
Right.
those streets ain't gonna let you go, right? They're not
Right.
gonna let you go without sacrificing something. There's
Yep.
something you have to give up to get out. And if you just know about that going forward, before you even thought, like before you got into this kind of environment, I bet you would relook and position yourself in a way that isn't harmful, that you
Yeah.
can actually enjoy life. And of course, school is hard, but it's not as hard as, like you're saying, trying to make ends meet, or trying constantly looking over your shoulder every day and being careful of, oh, I can't go to that Circle K because that set's
Hmm.
there, or
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
can't go to this store over there because so and so's there, and all this. And to be honest with you, Pop, like, I laugh because in Tucson, their gangs are real, right? The gangs are real
Oh,
in
mad
Tucson
real,
for
mad
sure.
real.
But J. Cole said it in one of his interviews. He's like, or in one of his songs, he's like, how are we repping gangs when the gang culture wasn't even in Arizona to begin with? It's something that we picked up from California, and we're like, all right, you know
Hmm.
what? Let's grab that and bring it here. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And the and I always joke with the youth a little bit. I'm like, gangs they're for real. They're for real in Tucson, but you don't hear anybody messing with the cartel out
Mhm.
in, out in Tucson, especially the gangs. Like you don't mess with them, but it just sounds so superficial. You know what I mean? It sounds so
Right.
superficial, and to live that kind of lifestyle and to live that kind of way, I get it. Sometimes some youth I know, we're really talking about the youth that have good family structure, good family dynamic, right? Like that's kind of where we're talking about. If you have a good support system, great resources, because there's some youth out there that grow up and don't have those kind of resources, or don't have a role model in their life, and they think that this is the only way that I can, maybe they have to provide for their family, and this is
Yeah,
paying
that
for their
happens
light
all
bill,
day.
right? But that's a whole different conversation than the one we're having right now. We're really talking about the youth that have that family dynamic, that have that resources to help them and all these things, because this is not we glamorize this lifestyle. When you talked about it, when you talked about
Right.
society, we as I don't know, society, maybe black community, but not, I'm not even going to put that on the black community as a whole, because there's people in the black community that don't believe in what we're, glamorizing. But hip hop was never meant to be taken literal. It was supposed to be a way of us sharing our stories, right?
Right.
That's how hip hop started. It was just sharing our stories of the streets, right? And if you go back, I don't know when we're dropping this episode, but Sherrod's Dr. Robbins talks about this a little bit briefly in our conversation. And if you want to go back and listen to that, it's an amazing podcast, and we'll bring it back on. But when we're talking about the youth that are listening, they don't understand the history of hip hop, and what the industry is doing is propagating and feeding us these
Hmm.
street these glamorized street singles, albums, music, and glamorizing this lifestyle where we shouldn't be, right? We shouldn't
Right.
be glamorized. There's nothing that good that comes out of this, and we got to make sure we're setting our youth up for success and not setting up for fail. And that's us as adults. We got to teach our youth, like, how we listen to music, right? Like
Right.
it's
Right.
like
Right.
it's
Right.
like
Yep.
listen, it's like watching a movie. If you're watching a movie, I know for little kids, you're watching Spider-Man, and all of a sudden you think you're Spider-Man, right? Like I know for me
Right.
when I was growing up, I'm shooting webs out my fingers.
Right. Right.
But when you talk and you start applying that into real life scenarios, it's not healthy, right? So we got to teach our youth to listen to how to listen to music and how to respect the art of music, and
Right.
understand that this is somebody's life story. It doesn't mean that they're happy about it.
Right.
Doesn't mean that they want you to go through what they're going through. They just want you to listen to their story. That's all.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Yeah, I think just I think part of the issue is the glamorization of it and the flashiness of what it could be, but I don't think enough time is really spent. And here's the thing about the young person's mind, because we know the prefrontal cortex is not developed until last and fully developed, which is the high risking taking behaviors that exist in the brain as far as crystallizing it so that you know how to have good judgment, but that develops last. And so the whole adolescent brain is, oh, that would never happen to me. The negative stuff
Mm.
that wouldn't happen to me. I can beat that. I'm different. And
Mhm.
what I love about that attitude though is if you can channel that into something positive. Oh man, how amazing is that? Take that same mentality of this is not going to happen to me and I can do it better and I won't get caught up in that, in the negativity. Use that for the positive. Man, you know how much further off, not only with the black community, Hispanic Latinx community, people of color community, if young people were all young people, and when I say all, I mean literally all of us young people were using that mentality to be better, to do better, to create better communities. How awesome would that be? This is the other thing that I share with people that people don't sometimes like me saying. you know the cats that run the streets, they are for the most part very intelligent.
Very.
It's not easy. I mean, they got to do math when they're like selling dime bags, whatever, eights, and all that
Mhm.
stuff.
Ounces. Yep.
Yeah, ounces, that's math. And then you got to do the math, and then you got to make sure you count it up right. You got to then make sure that's all math, man. And that's business. That's entrepreneurship. You know, figuring out how to get it to certain people in certain ways. That's marketing. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And then how much you're getting out. That's distribution.
Mhm.
So you're learning a lot of things that should be used to enhance our community to make it better. And you're doing that.
Mm.
And so why not apply that to something that's positive? And when we talk about the cartels, they are alive and well Tucson. I had the opportunity to work with them, not directly, but
Right.
I ran into cats through my years, again, working with gangs and stuff like that. And they're smart. They're mad intelligent. They're not
Yeah.
dumb. Um, and as you all know, they're very extremely dangerous, man. And they um, um, make it seem as if though you can have the flashy cars and the watches, but again, like Z, you were saying, I mean, that comes with the price, man, and that price tag is heavy. And so the other thing is that even the wannabe gangsters,
Mm,
the
talk about
people
it.
that act like they're in that lifestyle, that's dangerous too,
Very.
because you mess around and go to the wrong area or the wrong place and throw the wrong sign, or walking with a certain type of swagger that you think is cool, you can get caught up. So and trying to find your identity, I think it's really about um asking yourself, and parents talking with you, what is it that you really want to be and do, and then
Mhm.
let's find a way to accomplish that. Now it may be difficult, and because you're a young person, it's going to be hard. It's not going to happen overnight, but nothing does.
Right.
Even when you're running the streets, you know what I mean, that type of money, those type of cars, the type of drama, it takes time to build that.
Mhm.
It doesn't happen just right away. And so anything that you want to do takes time. And so I think we have to be careful. um and like you said, I get it, man, with the clothes and the shoes and
Right.
the drip and the whips and the
The women,
cars,
whatever,
women,
attention.
whatever.
Yeah.
I I don't know. I guess I'm wondering, like, how do you, I guess it's just a mentality, man. Yeah, I mean, I understand it, because I went through it myself. So, but I think what you and I talked about, and is just, is it worth it? You know what I
Right.
mean? You can have that stuff, and there's the other thing that I talked to you about, which is called delayed gratification.
Right.
Right? Delayed gratification is, if you want to have something that's gratifying, you may have to delay it to actually get it and have it. But
Mhm.
we live in a society today where whatever we want, we should have now. And Amazon has helped to make that even more so, right?
That's so true. So true.
So back in the day, you had to go to the store,
Mhm.
go pick it up.
You
Uh
know what I think about when we talk about delayed gratification? I think about the old school Netflix. When you wanted to watch
right.
a movie, you
Yeah,
had
yeah,
to
yeah.
wait for it to come in the mail, and it took like 3 to 5 business days. And now you see Netflix doing the whole streaming thing, and now you're like, oh, I can just watch whatever now. Boom.
Yep, exactly. Delayed gratification is not there, right? It's just like, oh,
Right.
okay. And that's even when it comes to finances, right? Is like, it
Mhm.
takes a while to build up your savings account. It takes a while to build up to get a house, and but you have to delay that gratification. And I think we're not taught that, and society is not helping. Like we just said, Netflix,
Right. Amazon.
Amazon,
Mhm.
I can order something, because a lot of times we used to go to the mall, they may not have the shoes that you want, and now you
Right.
got to wait for a week or a week and
Mhm.
a half for them to get in. But now you can get everything like within a day or 2 days delivered to your door, right?
Right.
That's not delayed gratification. That's like, I want it now. And so
Instantaneous. Yeah.
yeah, society's not helping with that at all. And
Yeah.
so I think with young people, it's just having the conversation and helping them to understand that you know things don't come right away. um and also the other thing is that clothes don't make you. You
Mhm.
make the clothes,
Right.
right? Yeah, clothes don't make you, you make the clothes. Or I mean, and your attitude, and it's almost like makeup. I don't wear makeup, but you can put on clothes or makeup to hide who you really are. Or even we talk about there's this one gentleman, I forget his name right now, but he talks the masks that we wear, right? And
Mhm.
that's what clothes are. That's what makeup sometimes is, right? I should say clothes and makeup are sometimes that, which is it helps hide, because you can dress up a certain way and present a certain image, but that's not
Yeah.
really who you are,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And that's what's cool about some youth that I love, man, is like they show who they really are, right? And it's not sometimes that flashy, uh, name brand clothing. It's sometimes, thrift store.
Right.
What was my man? What was it Mac Miller? Was it Mac Miller? The thrift store. He did the
Oh, that
video.
was Macklemore.
Macklemore, right? Talking about you can go to the thrift store, man, and
Right.
get some fits, boy,
Mm-hmm.
and show who you really are, your creativity,
Right.
and but that takes time as you're growing up. But I think just supporting young people in what they helping them to discover themselves, because it's really interesting. I think even you went through this a little bit, if I remember correctly, is, and I see this with youth all the time, like trying on different personas, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
like the way that they dress. You kind of see them changing or trying to find out where they fit in.
Right.
Um, and that's natural.
Mm-hmm.
That's natural, right? I mean, sometimes you'll see a cat that's trying to skateboarder out,
Right.
fits. Then you see him later with the trying on the cowboy,
Yeah.
like, okay, let me see if this works. Sometimes trying to be the preppy,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes trying to
Be the jock.
jock or
Mm-hmm.
alternative, you know, yeah, all that, right? And that
Right.
makes sense and that's cool. But I think trying on the gangster thing, like again, just using Ja Moran as an example, it is the worst one that you could ever choose, because you may not come home
Right.
messing with that one. You may
That's so
not come
true.
home messing with that one. Um, because there's rules and regulations to that. And um, if you don't know what you're doing, you definitely get yourself hurt.
Yeah.
Um, and you ain't gotta be gangster to
Mm-mm.
be to really floss and to
Right.
have just that look and love from the community, in which you want to be a part of. And I think that's one of the things that I would share is, and you kind of mentioned in the beginning, the top of this, which is one thing that I would say as a takeaway, um, is find that crew or clique that you feel you connect with the most,
Mm-hmm.
right? Again, leave alone the gangster side of things,
Right.
period. That should be off limits no matter what. But if you you mentioned, if you like sports, football, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball, wrestling, um, chess, you know what I
Right.
mean? Kick it with those folks. If you like gaming, find that gaming community.
Theater, drama.
Yeah, oh yes, yes, yes.
Find that.
Man, that's so cool. Yeah, if you like singing, choirs or
Yeah.
bands or um
Robotics.
robotics, exactly, right.
There's so
That's
many
what up.
options.
Swimming, I mean that's sports, but swimming,
Yeah.
dance, cheer. Um, there are so many positive things that you can get into. And I know that the gangster image and stuff can look appealing because it's shiny, right? It's
Right.
like, ooh, look at that, shiny, shiny.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that thing will end up stinging you and hurting you hard. So that's one thing I would say is just, you know, try to
Find it.
find your interest
Yeah.
early. And parents, I would say, support that interest
Definitely.
in them. And I know with Z, it was a little frustrating for me at one point, because we put so much time, energy, and money into basketball for him.
Yeah.
Um, and I think as a parent, where you have to be careful is to not get so wrapped up into it that that's where you find your what was not it was where you find your, dang, what's the word I'm looking for, who you are in that.
Right. Don't live through your youth.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to push them and support them, but know your limit also. Because I remember I was a little heartbroken, like when you decided to not continue to play basketball. I understood it,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, man, we spent a lot of time and money and effort in this thing, man. You had me traveling all over the place, sitting in places
Mm-hmm. Right.
that I ain't want to go. Got me up early in the morning. I ain't no morning person. And
Mm-hmm.
now we gonna be done. Oh, hold up. Oh, hold up.
Right.
Like, but that was me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about me. It was about
Mm-hmm.
supporting you and what you wanted to do in that time. And and the benefits of that was or are the things you got to learn from that discipline. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Playing both sides of the court, offense, defense, the connections you made with the other young men,
Mm-hmm.
and the referees and the coaches and the announcers
Right.
and getting to see different places. And I mean, all that's invaluable, you know.
Right.
And again, with all those other things that you and I just mentioned, as far as sports and arts, and they'll find that valuable too, because a lot of those places travel to different places and do things.
Right.
And again, that's not gangster, because gangster, you don't really get to travel. You don't really get to
Well, you can't even travel inside your own city
right.
sometimes, right? Because you're not allowed to go over there.
Exactly, right. So you don't get those opportunities. So there's a lot of things that are just negative about that. But that's what I would
Yeah,
say is support the young people, support them trying different things
for sure.
to see if it fits. Because I remember,
Oh no.
did we talk about this? Or I think we probably were talking about. But I'll just say it real quick. Remember, we're trying different things, and we're like, let's play some baseball. You're like, yeah, let's play catch. I was like, all right, let's go out to play catch. I used to play baseball, and remember you were like, I was like, all right, get the glove. I'm gonna throw you the ball. And you're like, all right, cool. And this is when you're little, so you're like 6, 7, 8 or something like that. And I throw it, and you couldn't catch it. And I was like, all right. So then, you're like, all right, you run and go get the ball. And you try to throw it back. And I'm like, okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. The throw wasn't bad. Then I'm like, all right, okay, we're gonna have you catch it. I throw you the ball. And you're like, I don't know. And then missed it. And I'm like, you run and go get the ball again. I'm like, this ain't really catch. This is more like
Fetch.
yeah, fetch. And that's what I was like. You know what? I don't think this is a natural talent for you, man. Let's try this other ball.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what had happened, man. Oh man.
But
But
I
at least
support
we
you,
tried it.
support you.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
we
tried it,
supported
right?
it.
The basketball, when you pick that up, I don't know, that was just more it just came to
Natural.
you naturally. Yeah, soccer, you're kind of, because you used to play with your cousin
Yeah.
Jay, and Jay, any ball that he would freaking touch, he freaking kill it.
Boy, he
I
was
do not
good.
understand how.
He played lacrosse type thing. Like he tried, like I think Uncle Tay and I May did a good job putting him in different things. You know what I mean? Like he got to try out soccer, he got to try out lacrosse, he got to try out tennis, golf. Like he did most of the things. He was really like he would be
Yep,
really, really above average on everything. Like you
on
said, when he
everything.
would touch it, he'd be like, "All right, cool, I'll pick it up in like 10 minutes. I got
Every
it."
ball, every ball. I don't understand. Yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, with us, it was no trial and error, trial and error.
Slow grind. You know what I'm saying? But one of the things I wanted to highlight just for people that may be listening is that we do come from, I mean, because some of these things have a hefty price tag. You know what I mean?
They
Like
do, they do.
AAU basketball. And we can talk about that real briefly. It's just now with the popularity and the notoriety that people are getting from AAU, that the ticket price, like the prices has gone up for everything just to get in. Like the barriers is so much more expensive. Where back in the day, AAU started as a grassroots organization, right? Where it was your local talent, your local teams getting together and just playing ball. Right now, it got into this kind of like political type of thing where now for most people it's kind of unobtainable for a youth to get into that, but for the people that are listening that may be struggling with finances and they're like, oh, I don't know if I can get my youth involved in that. There's people and there's organizations out there that are willing to help and willing
Yep,
to, and there's people, not just organizations, but there are people that are willing to invest in youth to keep them from going that route of
that's true.
going through the streets or whatever the case may be, because there's people out here that genuinely care, that want to keep, and they understand how valuable sports could be to somebody, and with the lessons you learn through playing sports, and also the benefits of learning an instrument, or learning how
Yeah.
to act, or learning how to
Yeah.
sing, right, or dance, like all these things. And so don't be afraid to ask for help, especially as a parent, right? And it's kind of, I can understand it from a parent perspective, just having
Oh
pride and
yeah.
not wanting to rely on somebody else. But it's not, like you said, it's not for you. You know what I mean? Like, this is something that if your youth found interest in, and they're like, I want to do this, don't hold back because you're afraid of what other people will think, because of, oh, I'm getting a handout, or da da da. It's not a handout. This is a handout to help. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
It's a hand up. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a hand up. You know what I'm saying? So don't be afraid as a parent, as a guardian, to lean into your supports and be like, hey, little Z wants to do, baseball, but it costs about $100. Can we all pitch in 25 to help send him his way? Or can we do
Hmm.
this? Right? Don't be afraid to do that, because it's worth it at the end of the day. And a lot of parents get upset when their kids are, especially on summer break. Well, in Arizona it's hot, but idle hands are the devil's workshop, and they're idle for maybe a month and a half, and now they're doing stupid stuff. I mean, I was, a product of that. In fifth grade, I was bringing people in the house that weren't supposed to be in the house. I was breaking all the rules and coming in late and da da da, because I was just idle. There was nothing else for me to do.
And
But
he would get consequence, just so y'all
oh
know.
yeah, yeah, no, definitely, there big consequences. But to avoid that, you got me involved in things, even if I didn't want to do it, even if it
Right.
sounded corny, even if it was whatever. I was like, all right, do you want me to go to Digi Dudes?
Mhm.
Okay, whatever. I'll go to Digi Dudes. But yeah, I got to meet cool connections with people that are now, like, this was back, what, 2012, before, like, the internet was I mean, the internet was huge, but those dudes are now like millionaires. You know what I'm saying? They're coding for the biggest companies. Now they're working with chat GPT. They're helping out
Mhm.
with their algorithm and all that stuff. Like, those are people I got to meet hands on, and I wouldn't have done that if my dad and my mom didn't force me to go and hang out with people that I
I forgot
normally
about
wouldn't.
Digi-Do. I forgot about that one. That was
Yeah.
crazy.
But
It
before we
is true.
wrap up, man, I just wanted to say that, when we talk about the streets, there's great people that are running and doing these things, right? They're great people. They just didn't
Yeah.
know what route to go, and they
Making
chose
horrible
this.
choices.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they made some, and those choices have consequences. But they are some of the people I met that are in gangs, knowing who I was and hanging out with a crew that wasn't involved in smoking, that didn't drink in high school and in middle school. We were kind of the nerds, but we were the cool nerds that people wanted to hang out with and invite us to places. So, like my dad was saying, like, being able to surround yourself with a group and be able to have that identity when we went to places, the people that were slinging, that were dealing, that were smoking, that were drinking, when they see us coming to the spot, they were kind of like, yo, 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 and people were offering us drinks or smokes. They'd be like, nah, man, like, nah, Z and the crew don't be doing that stuff. Yo, just back up. Like, we don't want you around that. And us playing sports also had a big thing for that, because in high school, people want a championship. People want to go to the playoffs. And when you're playing varsity your junior year, people are like, oh, no, no, no. These are, don't mess with these. They gotta, they got practice, or they got a tryout, or they got a game. Like, we need them. You know what I mean? So when you
Yeah.
are able to establish an identity kind of early that's solid, and your values, you'll be better off, and you have people that look out for you, and that will protect you.
Yeah, I was gonna say also, just a reminder is that, I mean, you can find love, positive love in a lot of different places, and it's not just the streets. And I do agree with that statement you made. A lot of the cats that are running the streets, and I mean literally run it.
Hmm.
Um, I've met so many of them, and they're good people, man, just making horrible choices,
Right.
and trying to talk them out of uh that lifestyle. Once they get in so far, it's hard to pull them back out. But I've definitely made some positive inroads with those folks. But I would say, just like you were saying earlier, just don't get involved in that at all is the easiest thing, because once you start going to get back out is more difficult than you think. So you ain't got to be gangster
You
to
gotta
to
be.
have the accolades, the the
The
status, the
recognition.
recognition, the applause, the um, you ain't got to be gun toting and flashing guns and
Nah.
flashing the drugs, or even the paraphernalia with, as far as marijuana and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just an image that's not good. And so I think, like you're saying, to end out is it's okay to be you. Um, and I'm going to tell you now, the substance using, if you're using drugs and alcohol, or carrying a gun and this, that, and the other, that's not, you learn that behavior. That's not how you were born.
Mm-hmm.
You were born to do positive things, not things that hold you back, keep you down, and deteriorate you. That's not anything that's negative for the most part. 9 times out of 10, that's something you learned that is not going to benefit you. And so you
Right.
need to tap back into that inner self, which is about growth, love, support, community. That's what's in you. You're
Mm-hmm.
pushing that aside to do these other things that do not benefit you, your family, or your community. And so that's my kind of my closing
I love
word.
it.
So you ain't got to be gangster. You ain't got to
And
be gangster.
and I'll close it out on one of J. Cole's favorite, one of my favorite J. Cole songs, "03 Adolescence." There's a little, this passage here, little bars that he says. This is him talking to a homie that's selling drugs and how he's peeping it. And he's like, "Oh, I want to be like that." So he says, "I complimented how I see him out here getting this cash. I just asked, what a homie got to do to get that? Put me on." He just laughed when he seen I was sure. 17 years breathing, his demeanor said more. He said, "Homie, you know how you sound right now? You want my man's? I would think that you're a clown right now. Listen, you're everything I want to be. That's why I hang out with you. So how you looking up to me when I look up to you? You about to get a degree. I'm about to be stuck with two choices. Either graduate to wait, and wait means to sell. Number two, for what? $100 or two a week? Do you think you could be do you think that you would know what to do if you was me? I got four brothers and one mother that don't love us. They ain't never want us. Why they never wore rubbers? I feel ashamed to have complained about my lack of gear and thought about how far we done came from trailer parks to front yards with trees in the sky. Thank you, mama. Dry your eyes. And that was J. Cole kind of like being like, dang, like this dude's looking up to me because I got the things that he wants. You know what I mean? And his homies like trying to keep him off the game and be like, yeah, man, you don't need to be gangster to be,
Hmm.
you don't want to be gangster living this lifestyle because this is a horrible lifestyle to live. And you're way better off getting your college degree and you're so much more scholarly than me, type of thing. So I want to leave us on that. You can definitely check out that whole song. The whole song's fire. J. Cole, O3 Adolescence. Definitely a good song. And don't remember, man. Remember, if you take anything away from this podcast episode, you don't gotta be gangster. Just be you. You know what I
Yep.
mean? You don't
Just
gotta
be
be
you.
gangster. Just be
Love it.
you. Um,
Yes,
as you
sir.
wrap up, yo, hey, we got a website, man. Uptoit.club. Check it out. You can book us for presentations. We're more than happy to accommodate your needs. Maybe you're at a school or you're at an organization that might be struggling
Church.
with these
Hmm.
things, right? The church that might be running into these things. We don't just do youth presentations. We would love to do adult and youth presentations because we believe in, and you keep hearing us reiterate the power of conversation and the power of conversation early on. So if
Yes.
that's something you're interested in, man, hit the link in bio. Type in up to it.club is all one word dot, and it's like the period. Don't write dot. You're not gonna get it. The period dot club. You can fill out a little questionnaire, and we'll get back with you with the swiftness, man. We're just so excited, and we want to be a part of our community. Don't matter where you're at, what city, what state, what country. We'll get to you. We'll figure out. We'll come
Yes,
out to
indeed.
you.
Yes, indeed.
But on that note, we don't get up out of here, man, and we're gonna see you on the next episode.
Yes, sir. We'll see y'all. Peace.
Peace.